Shalom, giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash, for giving us the understanding of the Holy Bible through their men, that being the apostles and the bishops of Great Millstone. These are the men that are worthy of double honors in the time that we're living in, which we're living in some very crucial times, prophetic times, which we're living at the end of the world in the sense of the Greek word eon, which means an age, a time period. And we're living at the end of Esau's age, Esau being the so-called white man. And that's according to 2 Ezra 6, verse 9, Matthew 24, verse 3. So with that being said, Yahweh Bashma Shai Bahashem, Rakah Kodash Brakatham, to the 144,000 servants as well as the remaining elect of Israel. So real quick, this is information that was sent to us in the chat. It's from BBC News concerning Donald J. Trump and his administration. As you see here in the headline, it says Trump administration considers suspending habeas corpus. Now, for those of you that don't know what habeas corpus is, let's just look it up real quick. What is habeas corpus? Habeas corpus is a legal principle that protects an individual's right not to be unlawfully detained or imprisoned. It allows a person to challenge the legality of their detention by requesting a court order known as a right of habeas corpus, which requires the detaining authority to justify the detention. If the detention is found to be without legal basis, the court can order the person's release. Okay, so this is why habeas corpus is important and applies to us, okay? Us that's serving Yahweh Bashma Shai, us that's within this ministry, the ministry of Yahweh Bashma Shai. You know, those of us that call ourselves, you know, the servants, the prophets of Yahweh Bashma Shai. Okay, the men of Great Millstone and like-minded righteous Israelite men that share our same report concerning Yahweh Bashma Shai and our book, the book being the Bible. Okay, the reason I say that is because, you know, according to particular scriptures such as Revelation 12 verse 12, Revelation 2 verse 10, Revelation 20 verse 4, Esau, our enemy, beginning with their elite, or they're going to come with persecution, and that persecution is going to result in certain men being locked up, okay, for the witness of our Lord, the witness of Yahweh Shai, that is, and that's pursuant to Revelation 19 and 10, in which we know the testimony or the witness of Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy, and that's exactly what we do, you know, beginning with the apostles and the bishops of Great Millstone on down. So, you know, we're to, you know, bear in mind what's being said here and understand the gravity. Again, Trump administration considers suspending habeas corpus. Donald Trump's administration is actively looking at suspending habeas corpus, the right of a person to challenge their detention in court. One of the US president's top aides has said. Stephen Miller, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff, told reporters on Friday that the US Constitution allowed for the legal liberty to be suspended in times of rebellion or invasion. And us brothers, you know, that's serving Yahweh Bashma Shai, if you don't know, we would fall under this category, okay, concerning rebelling against the American government, in which this is reminiscent as to why the Apostle John was exiled or banished to the Isle of Patmos in his day, okay, around 96 AD, around 2,000 years ago, okay. You know, the Apostle John, he was exiled to the Isle of Patmos by the emperor, the Roman Emperor Domitian, for his testimony of Yahweh Shai, okay, and he's preaching of our Lord and his coming, okay, concerning overthrowing the Roman Empire back then, in which we know that's going to take place in our time, our day, if you will. High treason is a severe crime that involves betraying one's country, typically by attempting to overthrow the government, which we're not doing that. We may be doing that spiritually, but we're not doing that on a physical level. As is written in 2 Corinthians 10 and verse 4, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. However, we are prophesying about our Lord, Yahweh Bashmao Shai, overthrowing the American government, through spiritual power, by way of our Lord, Yahweh Shai, returning with the holy angels in what people out there call UFOs. We are prophesying about that. But we ourselves are not going to overthrow the American government on a carnal level, as is written in Zephaniah 3 and verse 8. The Lord said, "Wait ye therefore upon me until the day that I rise up unto the prey." So we as the men of the Lord, the servants, the prophets, our job is just to prophesy, plain and simple. And we do that with season, and wisdom in terms of how, we preach and prophesy. But nonetheless, we're going to prophesy. Anyway, it says, high treason is a severe crime that involves betraying one's country, typically by attempting to overthrow the government, assisting its enemies, or endangering its authority or sovereignty. And like I said, we're not involved in any of these type of situations. But don't be surprised if there's a false flag event of sort, and we get the blame for whatever that situation might be in terms of them coming after us. And I'm saying all of this stuff because it's important, it's imperative that you brothers out there know what you're involved in, all right, concerning serving Yahweh Bashmao Shai, and the extremities of where this thing can go, according to prophecy. Again, Revelation 2 verse 10, Revelation 20 verse 4. These are scriptures that should be coming to mind. Now, it's not all doom and gloom, because bear in mind, our Lord is going to defend us and protect us, we have scriptures like Isaiah 59 and verse 19, where it's written about how when the enemy shall come in like a flood, the enemy being, of course, Esau and his various different agencies, his troops, his police force and whatnot. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, concerning this persecution, that's when the Most High, Yahweh Bashmao Shai, is going to lift up a standard, for the men of the Lord, his servants, the prophets, and the elect. All right, so there's that too, in terms of us being protected and defended. But, there's two sides of the coin, so to speak, concerning serving our Lord, and it's important you understand, the full spectrum of what you're involved in. So it says, examples include acts like espionage, aiding an enemy during wartime, or conspiring to assassinate a head of state. Now again, do not be surprised if some type of false flag event happens, of this magnitude, where, the Israelites get blamed for it, especially concerning or considering, who's running America right now, which we know in the spirit is Nero in the reincarnation, if you can receive it. 2 Corinthians 2 verse 11 says what? Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. And I believe when you go into that word devices in the Greek, you'll find the Greek word naima, which means an evil plot, an evil plan. And, we're not ignorant of what our enemies, the wicked elite that is, we're not ignorant of what they've got set up, concerning accusing the men of the Lord, the servants, the prophets, in order to combat this truth. So it says the definition and penalties vary by country, but is generally considered one of the most serious offences against the state. So yeah, I mean, that's all I'm going to read. That's all that we need. But this is just a heads up to, let you know how drastic things can get and how draconian things are going to get. Okay. Let's not forget about Revelation 13 and 11, concerning, as a matter of fact, let me just go there. Revelation 13 and verse 11. And this is concerning the revived Roman Empire. Okay, primarily in the form of America, Babylon the Great. It says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb. The two horns represents Esau's two political party system, which goes back to the ancient Greco-Roman Empire. Back in the ancient Roman Empire, you had the plebeians and the patricians. Well, today's no different, where you have the Democrats and the Republicans. Okay, two horns like a lamb, which the lamb represents this, how would I put it, deceptive, harmless, peaceful spirit that, the American government come in concerning democracy and human rights. They so-called come in peace. However, this beast that the Apostle John is seeing here, which is symbolic of the revived Roman Empire, it spake as a dragon. And when you look up dragon in the Greek, it goes back to drakon, which this is really symbolic of the ancient, I think he was from Greece, Draco. He was a lawgiver in the ancient Roman Empire, or the ancient Greco-Roman Empire, I should say. And he was known for, giving out very severe, harsh, judgments for the least of crimes, so to speak. And that's where you get the word draconian from. Okay. So, again, we're to be mindful of what's at stake. And Nero, aka Donald Trump, aka the cruel Lord, according to Isaiah 19. So Lord willing, you brothers and sisters out there were edified. And until next time, I'll say shalom.